Hello friends, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Invisible Cover Foundation. I received this in my October Ipsy subscription and I am wearing it today. I have been testing this for about a week and a half. I did a first impression day with it that I filmed, but I've also been testing it since then to find out the best combination to make it work the best for me of how to apply, primers, setting sprays, powders, all of that. So what I'm going to do in this video is tell you a very little bit about Makeup Forever. I'm going to tell you about this product specifically. We're going to look at the first impression day, and then I'm going to give you my review at the end after having used it for, as I said, about 10 days or so. For all of that, I'm going to put timestamps down below so that if you just want to watch the review of it or first impression, you can do that, have at it. I will say if you're watching this in 2018 before November 7th and you have not yet entered my 2,500 subscriber giveaway, I encourage you to go do that. You get a chance to choose a Sephora palette to win of your choosing. I'll put the link to that video down below so that you can go after this video and enter that giveaway. So I have done a review of Makeup Forever previously. I had their primer, so if you want to really see me get into the company information a little bit more, I will also link that video down below. Makeup Forever was founded in the 80s by Danny Sands, who's a makeup artist, worked in the theater. They have a huge range of products, all kinds of makeup, everything you could need, as well as like theater makeup and special effects makeup. I believe they have, as far as I've seen, good ranges of shades for everything and just a ton of products. You can purchase their products in Sephora, so they are a little more pricey than the drugstore, but they are a brand that is fairly well known. I feel like they haven't been talked about a lot lately if you're watching, YouTube videos and beauty YouTubers and that sort of thing. I think it may be because they don't do the release after release after release. It's not the same as like a Too Faced or a Tarte where it seems like every month they have a palette coming out or a new release or a new collection. Makeup Forever sort of flies a little under the radar in that way, just my impression of it. So let's talk about this foundation. There are 40 shades of this foundation, and if you buy this in Canada through Sephora, it's going to be $53. I believe that is for a full fluid ounce. Yes, 1.01 fluid ounces. From what I understand, if you buy this in the States, it's more like $40 to $43. Again, for the full fluid ounce. And this is described as a game-changing, top-selling foundation with buildable coverage and a natural finish best suited for normal to combination skin. It says it's for normal, dry, combination, and oily skin. This is the icon that changed the face of foundation. It makes skin look 100% flawless, yet is 0% noticeable. The long-lasting fluid has a second skin feel. Often cited as one of the best liquid foundations, this Pro Essential provides completely invisible, seamless coverage. It does say you can apply this with either a sponge or a brush, and it does say that you can build it. It says it will take 2 pumps of this to cover your face flawlessly, and they do recommend different kinds of primers depending on if you are oily, dry, having large pores, to address, building that base, and Makeup Forever does have a ton of different kinds of primers. I think that's everything you need to know about the foundation itself, so let me head into the first impression day of this. First impression time, I'm going to start out on this first impression day with using a Makeup Forever primer because, hey, they suggest that and I've got it, so why not? This is the hydrating primer. It's the Step 1 Skin Equalizer, and I'm just going to put a little bit of that on and then give it a moment to sink in. Trying to concentrate it a bit around my nose. I've had a bit of a runny nose lately and it's made my nose a bit dry from, blowing my nose, having tissues on it. Now the website says to apply this with a brush starting from the inside of the face and working out. I am going to use a brush, my favorite foundation paddle brush, on one side of my face. I am also going to use a dampened beauty blender on the other side of my face just to see what the difference is. So it's a fairly liquidy foundation. You can sort of see it running down my finger there. I think I took out a little bit much. Oh, it does feel fairly thick. So I think I'll start with the brush side. It says this is going to be medium coverage, and I do prefer my foundations to be on the medium or light coverage side. Okay, that looks very natural, but I also feel like because I washed this brush just a little while ago and it still feels a little damp, like it may have sheared that out a bit more than it normally would, but I'll do the sponge side and then go back and reapply on the brush side. Wow, that just like disappeared. Like, I enjoy natural, but that sponge just totally sucked up the foundation and I don't feel like I really got any coverage. I'm just gonna zoom you in to show you. So I mean, it evened out a little bit of redness, but you can still see like all of my freckles very clearly and even still some redness. So I'm going to use the brush because that seemed to give me a bit better coverage and just add a little bit more, starting with this side. There we go. I feel like now we can see it sort of adding a bit of coverage. And I'll just do the same with the brush on the other side of my face where the sponge just really completely sucked it up. There we go. We can see a little bit more coverage happening now. I will say that I'm really liking the way that this looks. It really does look like my skin. There are certain places where foundation tends to gather on me, sort of at the start of my eyebrows there, it tends to gather up a little bit, but you really can't see, you know, obvious foundation at all. It's a little bit glowy, but I did use a hydrating base. And I do think I'm getting sort of like low medium coverage, but I also wasn't building it up a ton. But that very much looks like my skin, but better. It does feel still a little bit tacky. So I'm going to wait and see if it, you know, becomes powder finish, anything like that. If it stays dewy, I'm gonna put on the rest of my makeup and then be back to show you what it looks like before going on with my day. So this ended up being a much more dramatic look than I intended it to be. So it did feel like it set down a little bit, but still felt a little sort of, not tacky, but like moisturized. So I did put on, for the rest of my makeup, my under eye concealer, which is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. I set everything on my face with Laura Mercier translucent powder under the eyes and just the rest of my face. For my blush and highlight and all this business going on my eyes, I've been testing out the Pure Midnight Masquerade palette. The face palette here. I'm going to be putting up a review of this soon, but I've just been testing all the different shades and for wear and things like that. What else? On my eyes for mascara, I have on the Wander Beauty Unleashed Volume and Curl Mascara. I don't have anything going on my brows today, and for my lip color, I just want to keep it pretty neutral. It's the ColourPop Ultra Blotted Lip in the shade Zuma. So that is what I have on. I didn't put on any setting spray or anything, so that wouldn't sort of be a factor in seeing this first impression. I think I maybe said this already. It's probably about 20 after 9 right now, but let's say like 9:15. I spent a bit of time on my makeup and I will check in soon. Well, I am back from my walk where I made it to the neighborhood I was going to and then remembered I forgot my wallet. So the only thing I could do was go to a Starbucks because I have the app on my phone. And then I had coffee there for a while and then walked home and spilt the rest of my coffee on myself. So that's been my morning. But it was a very nice walk, and it is currently, what time is it? About 12, oh, that's my lock screen. About 12:38, exactly 12:38. So this has been on for coming up on 3.5 hours. It's looking really good. I mean, I've got some dents in my nose right there and a little bit of redness where my sunglasses were sitting, but it's, you know, not like there's huge smudges or anything there. I'll zoom you in to give you a look. The only thing I see is that it's a tiny bit cakey and makeup-y looking just on my chin right there. I have a little bit of texture on my chin there, so that can happen. But everywhere else, it's still providing a nice sort of light coverage that I can still notice, but still looks very skin-like. My blush and highlighter is still there, and it just feels very comfortable. So I know you can still see my freckles and stuff coming through. I like that about it, but it just looks very much like skin, except a little bit right there where it's gotten a little, tiny little bit makeup-y and a little bit broken up, but otherwise hanging in well. So I'm gonna do some stuff around the house and I will check back in a few hours. Hey guys, it is just about 3 o'clock, right? Yes, 3:06. I thought I would sit down because I've noticed in the last half hour or so that my skin is starting to look a little oilier than I would necessarily like. It's just on the verge of feeling a little heavy. A little oily, and my skin is generally combination skin. I don't tend to get oily feeling during the day regularly, but I am starting to see sort of more shininess on my forehead and sort of in this area and onto my chin. I'm gonna zoom in and see if I can show you. So you can sort of see that it's starting to look quite shiny in a way that is more than just highlight. I mean, especially when I start to get shiny kind of in these areas. And it's starting to feel a little bit like when I touch my skin and take my fingers away, they're starting to look and feel a little bit oily too. This is normally a point when I would powder, but I'm gonna sort of let this keep going and see what it looks like if I don't touch it up during the day. I will say that I did use a hydrating primer with it. So one of the things about doing these videos where I do both a first impression day and ongoing review is that I'll get a chance to test this with different powders and primers and setting sprays to see if it does this all the time at the 6-hour mark for me, or if it's just this particular combination on this particular day. Okay, I will check in a little bit later. Hey guys, so it is the end of the night, and yeah, if you can't tell, I'm just trying to get the blurring filter to come off a little bit. I have gotten very shiny. Not a whole lot shinier than the last time that I checked in. And I guess I should say it's like 6:35 right now. So this has been on for a little over 9 hours. So I would say from the 6-hour point to the 9-hour point, it's not a huge difference, but I am definitely shiny. And like it's gotten me oily, like very oily. Not as oily as I have been in some other foundations, but more so than I want to be or feel comfortable with. So I am going to go take this foundation off, let my skin breathe. I'm going to keep testing this for a while with different primers, powders, setting sprays, everything else that you can think of, so I can come back and give you a thorough review. For me, it'll probably be in about a week or so, but for you, pass it off to After Testing Melissa. Since then, I have been trying it out in a number of different ways. I found a combination that I really like, and let me just cut right to the chase here. this may be my new favorite foundation. Now, whether this is your favorite foundation or if you're gonna love it if you try it, depends on a number of things because there is no one perfect foundation for anyone. So let me tell you about it, what I like about it, but that also may lead you to decide whether you want it or not. Let me just stop babbling and tell you. So I have it on today. As I said, I've been wearing it for about 10 days now, and they are not kidding when they say it looks like you are not wearing foundation. I know my camera has a little bit of a blurring filter, so let me zoom you in a little bit just to get a look at what I have going on right now. So this is closer up, and you know, I am looking dewy and glowy, but I would say it would be hard to detect that I have a foundation on. The camera always ends up seeing my face closer than I naturally see it, so I may eat my words once I start to edit, but actually looking at this in real life, it doesn't look flawless because my skin is still coming through, but it makes it look like the most flawless version of my skin. So first of all, to address the first impression day, I did get very oily that day after about 6 hours, I believe. So for me, having kind of combination skin, a hydrating primer was not the way to go. The way I've been wearing this since then that I found has worked the best for me is this combination. I actually didn't bring the primer in here with me, but I was using the Cover FX blurring primer. It's basically a pore filling primer. So I use it sort of in the areas where I have pores. I also use it a little bit on my chin because my chin has texture, and I find that even though it's a blurring primer, it also smooths. And then also a little bit in the center of my forehead. And you know, I don't really worry about priming the outside of my face. I then put the foundation down. I used 2 pumps of it, and I did not end up using this at all with a sponge, but I both liked it with a flat foundation brush, like the kind I used in my first impression day, but also with a flat top brush to do very much a buffing into the skin movement, which makes it look very natural as well. I then set it with a light setting of my Laura Mercier translucent powder. I just like it set a little bit better with that sort of loose powder. And then I tried setting it a couple of different ways with setting spray. All of them worked fine. Today I used the Wet n Wild setting spray because it sort of alters the finish of it a little bit less. But I've also used my Cover FX illuminating primer. And that one looks very lovely as well, but it really does give a dewy glow, and I just wanted to show you what this looked like with a little bit more of a, you know, non-altering powder and setting spray. Just in terms of the other things that I have on my skin today, I have been using the Take Home the Bronze bronzer and also the Laura Geller blush. That's what's giving me a little bit of glow right now because I don't have any highlighter on, but it's also a very natural glowy sort of foundation. For me, those 2 pumps of foundation cover my whole face. I wouldn't necessarily say this is medium coverage. For me, you know, you can still see my freckles and everything, and for me, I like that because if I was to wear a full coverage foundation that just blanked out everything on my face, it would look very strange as compared to all the freckles I have, you know, on the rest of my body. So it doesn't work for me to have super high coverage foundation. So a couple of notes there is if you like really high coverage foundation, this isn't going to be for you. But if you have you know, not a lot of imperfections you want to cover and you just want your skin to look the best version of your skin, smoothing out redness, you know, making it just all look a little more clear, this will work really well for you. It doesn't gather into like wrinkles or pores or anything like that. So I mean, if you are maybe a little bit older like I am, so you've kind of gotten past the hump of dealing with acne, but you know, maybe you have a few little more wrinkles and texture in your skin, this is really nice. It feels like you're wearing nothing. I do find that even with a good combination of primers, by the time I get to like the 8-hour mark, my forehead is still a little more glowy and dewy than I want it to be at that point. So I have not tried this with a super mattifying primer, but I think this is probably best for dry, normal combination skin. I think if you're oily, this may not work for you. The days that I've worn this, I have literally stopped and looked at myself in the mirror because I am amazed at what a good skin and makeup day I am having. I went out for dinner with friends yesterday wearing it, and they complimented me on how I looked in my makeup and everything like that. So it's very natural, you know, just looks really, really nice. And for me, who wants lighter coverage, light to medium coverage, natural looking, something that's not going to move around and get cakey or gross in any way, this is so, so good. My other favorite foundation is the Ordinary Serum Foundation. It is also a light coverage, smooth things out, but I find that this lasts better. It provides a little bit more coverage, so it is more into the, you know, light to medium range, whereas the Serum Foundation is light coverage. And that one fades throughout the day, whereas this stays around. I continue to see my blush and bronzer on top of it through the day. It's good. It's a big, big thumbs up for me. I am just super enjoying it. I'd say I'm maybe like a quarter of the way through this bottle, and I am just going to use every last drop of this. So that is my review. I would love to hear what you think of this foundation, if you've tried it before, or other foundations you may think that I would like, knowing what my preferences are. Leave all of that in the comments down below, because I do try to respond to every comment that I get. If you are new here and have not yet subscribed to my channel, you should. You can come hang out with me. You can click on my face, I'll make it pop up there, throw another video down here, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.